Good morning everyone, my name is Michelle, I hope you're doing well. Welcome to another video. It is Tuesday morning the 14th of October. In this video we're going back to Nova Scotia to the case of missing siblings 6-year-old Lily and 4-year-old Jack Sullivan from Lansdowne Station. They were reported missing by their mother Malehya Brooks-Murray at 10:01 a.m. on the 2nd of May. Over 5 months now and they remain missing. It's so sad. A few days ago, Malehya came out with an emotional piece of writing that someone from the organisation Please Bring Me Home read out, and it was heartbreaking. It really was. I know some people have criticised Malehya for not speaking those words herself, and I get that, I understand that. But as I said in a video the other day, I would be hypocritical if I criticised Malehya for not speaking those words herself. But those words were Malehya's, written by Malehya. I think it shows the grief and the sorrow that she has within herself. So, really sad. Anyway, in this video, we're going to talk about the children's stepfather, Daniel Martell. Daniel seems to be the centre of the case. He has been since day one, because he's been the one that has come out and spoken a lot to the news. He's spoken to a whole bunch of social media creators. I've never contacted him, I'll just put that out there. But what we're going to do in this video is look at how Daniel is completely self-sabotaging. He says that he's helping the case, and in a way he is. This controversy that Daniel has caused is keeping Jack and Lily's name out there because people like me can talk about it. You know, so many cases that just go completely ignored when there's no controversy. It was the same in Tennessee in the Summer Wells case, with Don Wells, Summer's dad, being a controversial figure. Once Don stopped talking to the internet, it's difficult to talk about Summer anymore because there's nothing new. So unless you want to go over and over the same things again and again, then you can't. But I jump at the chance. When there's even the smallest thing that comes out about Summer's case, I jump on it and I make a video about it because it's just an excuse to say Summer's name again. It's the same with Sebastian Rogers, also another Tennessee case, where there's nothing new. So you jump at the slightest thing so that you can make a video. This is my thinking anyway, just to say his name, just to say Sebastian Wayne Drake Rogers. And I feel 5 months in that we're in the same situation now with Lily and Jack's case. There has been some information that has come out in recent weeks, which has been great because I've been able to talk about Jack and Lily's case by talking about facts that we know about the case. The release of the court documents in August, that was great, fantastic. Lots of redactions. I'd like to see some of those redactions gone. I'd like to know the polygraph questions, particularly, that Daniel and Malehya were asked. They both passed, but what were the questions? Could one or both of them conceivably answer the questions truthfully, but still have some involvement in Jack and Lily's disappearance? We can't judge that because we don't know what the questions were. So I hope RCMP take those redactions off. Also, the cadaver dogs coming in from British Columbia and to do a 3-day search of key priority areas. The property, the blanket site and the boot print site has also given us things to talk about beyond Daniel. However, this video is about Daniel and the way that he's self-sabotaged. So I'm going back to the DT show from not last night, the night before. I talked about one aspect of this live stream yesterday in a video, but I want to go back to this. DT believes that Daniel is innocent. I'm on the fence. I've been on the fence since day one. I really have. I can understand how Jack and Lily could have wandered away and not been found. They could so easily have got out of the search area. And it turns out that the searches have been looking in the wrong place all along. I can easily see that because it happens again and again and again, case after case. However, because Daniel has been so controversial, and because Malehya left, quite frankly, it's alarming. But now I can see why she did. I can now see why she did. And I'm a lot more lenient with Malehya now than I think I ever have been. But Daniel remains controversial. And DT thinks that Daniel is innocent. He sticks up for Daniel, talks to Daniel a lot, and Janie, Daniel's mother. And even he is critical of Daniel for the way that he treats girlfriends.
I don't know. I still find something off with him. Again, it could just be the neglect thing. And maybe because I have a specialization in marriage and family therapy, I like react to his being a bad boyfriend. Like maybe I'm getting like a visceral response to that. But I will absolutely be 100% an adult and a professional, and I will reflect on why am I doing this so that I can at least know for myself why that is, because it could be something like my expertise or just a reaction.
Yeah, no, you're right. And like I said, I think what you're picking up on is that the guy is a pretty douchey boyfriend. And I think you're picking up on the fact that he's controlling and that he, from what I understand, and this is what Taylor told me, and some of the things that I have heard as far as accusations coming from Malehya's side is that Daniel tried to isolate these women, as far as not allowing them to have males on their social media, and was jealous, controlling in that aspect, and maybe even perhaps isolate from their families, which is all big red flags, 100%.
It is big red flags, 100%, absolutely. When this came out about the girlfriend, so what was it, 2-3 days ago, I made a video that some people misunderstood. My concern about Daniel has grown since Taylor coming out, not because she faked a black eye. She clearly has mental issues of her own, but the fact that it's a corroboration of what Malehya said about Daniel being really controlling. And we've seen it. We've seen how he's tried to manipulate the media. We've seen how when something new comes out, he jumps on it. He goes into this damage control mode, which makes himself seem guilty. Dr. Vona and people like me who understand psychology. I was a psychologist for over 20 years, got my PhD in 2002, and my areas of expertise was in SA, domestic disputes, and that kind of violence. But I also looked at male victims as well as female victims, so I certainly wasn't looking at the topic from a feminist stance. I did actually more work. I was one of the first people in this country, at least, to publicise the essay of males. You can go and look up my research if you have a mind to. But yeah, what Taylor has said, taking away all of her issues, but the core of what she said relating to her and Daniel's relationship is how controlling he was. And this corroborates what Malehya's experience was. And this was Malehya's conversation with Sonny from It's a Crime in Shame. And this really stands up to me as a red flag. I don't know why he lied, because apparently he's not lying to the cops, but he's lying to social media. He says he never lies. Well, that in itself is a lie. But my family never knew the blanket was in the garbage, nor did they know Lily's blanket existed, especially my friends. And then, listen to this. Daniel gave me an ultimatum when I was pregnant with Meadow to drop my friends or he would leave me, because he said they were a bad influence. So I did. He allowed me to talk to one friend, but we didn't talk often. Look, Daniel is one of those people who finds vulnerable women. He's one of those people who preys on vulnerable women to bolster his own, probably, low self-esteem. I'm wondering whether there's some kind of personality disorder in Daniel. It's just a speculation. But he gave her an ultimatum when she was pregnant with Meadow to drop her friends or he would leave. I would have said, go on then. But I'm not somebody who's got low self-esteem, so I'm not the kind of person that Daniel would have preyed on. But does this give us any information as to whether he's involved in the disappearance of Jack or Lilly? No, it doesn't. Not directly. It absolutely doesn't. He could be the worst boyfriend in the world and still be completely innocent about the disappearance of Jack and Lilly. What it does do, though, is it explains why Malehya has behaved like she has, why she wanted to leave Daniel, and why she took that opportunity on the 3rd of May to leave, despite her children being missing. I think she probably knew how bad it was going to get with Daniel, and she made that choice. And I absolutely understand that now. I really do. I really do. Now, Sunny from It's a Crime and Shame from last night, she said it really well.
Yes, Taylor did reach out to me as well as others, but, you know, I did make a point of saying, knowing full well that she was going to have to tell her husband all this and that he only knew parts of it, knowing full well that she put herself in a very toxic environment, but she did it herself, right? And to have screenshots, you know, Daniel, like I gave him shit. I'm like, dude, at what point do you stop? At what point do you, you know, basically, you know, stop with all this stuff? Like, you have 2 missing children and you're involving yourself in stuff like this, and it's just getting thicker and thicker on him, to be honest. And so at what point, Daniel, do you realize you're sabotaging everything in your life by what you're doing? Like, did he really need to be in a relationship? But Daniel comes across like he needs someone to be around him. He needs to have control. He needs to have a manipulation. Again, goes back to insecurities, to be honest.
It absolutely does go back to insecurities. He is bolstering his own self-image and his self-esteem by controlling and manipulating vulnerable women. And I think this is the thing that so many of us have picked up on with Daniel. He's done exactly the same with the media, or at least he's tried to, saying he's the only one that's out looking for Jack and Lilly. He'll look for them for the rest of his life, was one of the things he said very early on in the case. He's the only one that's championing Jack and Lily's cause. He's the only one. And it's just not true. There's so many people who are championing Jack and Lily's cause. And Daniel has put himself in the centre of this controversy, and probably for the first time in his life, he's getting attention that he's craved. What do we content creators do now? Because the right thing to do would be just to completely ignore him, not talk about him, not show any screenshots that he sends people, not play his interviews, just ignore him, cut him out completely. But can we? Because he is intricately related to this case. Because he was there on the morning that Jack and Lilly were reported missing. How do we do this now? I would just like to completely ignore him and everything he says. But I feel if I did that, I might lose some of the clues that could be out there. Or maybe that's just wishful thinking. Maybe there are no clues out there. If Jack and Lilly literally wandered away, got into trouble and died somewhere in the woods, there are no clues that Malehya or Daniel or anyone else could give us. So that's the state of the case at the moment. Really sad. Anyway, let me know your thoughts in the comments, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye, guys. Go search!